Samuel found a small girl who was sad at the train station because she was waiting for her dad. When he tried to call the girl's mom, she showed him a picture of her dad, and Samuel realized he knew him. Every day, Samuel went to the train station where he had worked for 7 years. His job was to walk around and make sure everything was okay. Usually, it was quiet. People just wanted to go where they needed to go without any trouble. Sometimes, he had to deal with noisy teenagers or assist someone in finding the right gate. Sometimes, people left their things behind, and Samuel would take these lost items to a place where they could be found by their owners. He liked his job. It wasn't the fanciest career, but unlike some people, he didn't hunger for more. Samuel was not looking to climb some corporate ladder or become a millionaire. Yes, money was nice, but it wasn't the most important part of life. Not for him, anyway. His dreams involved a lovely woman and a family of his own, but he had yet to find one. Instead, he would visit his parents often, help his cousins with their kids, and attend family gatherings. His mom's potluck potato salad was the best. With that in mind, he looked at his watch, hoping it was time for lunch already. But he would have to wait another half hour to take his break. Samuel began whistling and walking again. A tap on his shoulder distracted him. "Excuse me, sir," a woman with bright blonde hair said. "There's a little girl crying on the bench. I think she's alone." Samuel frowned. "Where?" The woman pointed. He thanked her for being vigilant and walked briskly toward the bench. He saw the little girl quickly. She was sitting alone on the bench, and her cries could be heard as few people were around. "Hey there," he greeted, leaning a bit. "What's wrong, sweetie?" The little girl looked up and answered through her cries. "Dad promised to return." "Your dad left you here?" Samuel asked, appalled. "No," she shook her head. "I came to wait for him." "Oh well, where's your mommy?" Samuel's eyebrows rose at that answer. He wasn't sure, but this girl could have run from home to the train station while her mother was not paying attention. Walking a few paces away, he spoke into his comm, telling his colleagues about a lost girl. It was protocol. They would contact the authorities and try to get things sorted. His mother may have called the police, and they would come for the girl. Once he was done with the comm, Samuel went back and sat with the girl on the bench. "Everything will be all right, Curly," Samuel comforted the still crying child. "Your mommy will come, and your dad too." "Probably." "Really?" The little girl looked up and stopped crying as hope rose on her face. "Oops, I shouldn't have said that. It may not be true," Samuel thought. "Well, possibly. But it's better to wait at home with your mom than here at the station all alone, right?" Samuel said, and immediately panicked when the girl's face crumpled. "Wait, don't cry again," he urged. "Tell me about your dad. What did he tell you?" "He left, like always. We come here when he comes back. But it's too long," the little girl replied, her lips puckering. "He's been gone too long?" Samuel said, deciphering her words, a side of his mouth turning. Her dad was probably traveling for work and would return soon. Children didn't have a correct measure of time. She missed him. "Yes, too long," she continued, nodding thoughtfully. But before Samuel could say more, his comm beeped and his colleague said the mother had been located and was rushing to the station. She had apparently called the police about an hour earlier after the girl got away from her at the supermarket nearby and disappeared. Samuel thanked his buddy and turned back to the child. "Girlie, your mommy is coming soon. You get to go home," he told her. "Oak," she said, dejected. He wanted to cheer her up desperately. "Do you have a picture of your father? Maybe I can help. I work here. If I see him, I'll tell him to rush back to his little girl." The girl's eyes widened, and she reached into her pocket for a crumpled paper. Samuel opened it with a smile, only for it to fall at the sight before him. The picture showed the little girl, who must have been about a year younger when it was taken. There was a beautiful woman too, but beside her was his brother Paul. Paul, who left home at 18, never to return. He always said he wanted to leave their small town and do something with his life. He told the family they were pulling him down. They were a burden to him. A few years later, Samuel contacted him when their grandfather died, but Paul refused to help or come to the funeral, and eventually he blocked Samuel's number. He hadn't heard from him in over 10 years. The idea that Paul had become a father was astounding, but worst of all, his family lived in that town, meaning he had been there all along, or for a while at least. He hadn't visited their parents or told them anything. And somehow, he knew he was not returning for this little girl and the beautiful woman in the picture, the woman who was running towards them, her hair flying with her fast movements. "Christina, oh my God," she said breathlessly, wrapping her arms around the girl as she started to tear up. "How could you do this to me? I was so scared." "Sorry, Mommy," the little girl said, her head bowed down. Samuel looked at them and felt anger. He was furious at his brother for the first time. For years, he had justified Paul's actions, chalking it up to him being ambitious. But this was different. Paul had abandoned his own family. "Hey, sir." "Oh my." The woman finally looked up from her girl and smiled at Samuel. "Thank you so much. I've been dying, thinking she was kidnapped or worse. Just thank you." "Ma'am, this might sound weird, but is your husband's name Paul?" he asked, standing from the bench. "Oh well, we never got married. But we were together," the woman said wryly. She looked down at the top of her child's head. "She was waiting for him, right?" "Yes, she showed me this picture," he explained. "Ma'am, Paul is my brother." "What?" The woman frowned. "Well, I guess you could say we're estranged. It's a long story. He left at 18 and didn't want to be tied down to this town or his family. He had ambitions," Samuel rambled. "Anyway, we didn't know about you. What's your name?" "Paul told me he had no family," the woman said, shaking her head slightly. "Well, I'm Laura, and this is Christina, but that can't be. It makes no sense." Laura looked at Samuel closely, and he could tell she saw something that reminded her of someone. "Hi, I'm Samuel. Where's Paul?" he asked. Laura felt sad and shook her head, mouthing the words, "He left us." That was typical of his brother, and Samuel decided to distance himself from Paul in a way. Samuel reassured Laura, "You're not alone. We have a big family, and my parents would love to meet both of you." Laura's face lit up because she didn't have any family, and the idea of her daughter having grandparents, cousins, and lots of extended family was exciting. Samuel called his mom and introduced Laura and Christina to the family. They fit in well. Paul never came back, but Samuel made sure Laura and Christina didn't need him. He was there for them.